is an author who has written a lot about climate change. He founded Climate Depot. He joins us tonight. Mark, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Tucker.
A climate lockdown. Now, I would laugh this off the table, except we all just lived through the last 18 months, so we know that anything is possible. What does this mean exactly?
Well, Tucker, in my book, I mentioned that the climate activists were jealous when the COVID lockdown happened. In the hands of Democratic politicians. This is what they say. Climate change is like systemic racism in the sky. You can't see it, but rest assured, it's everywhere. And it's deadly. And just like systemic racism, it's your fault. The American middle class did it. They caused climate change. They ate too many hamburgers. They had too many children. Oh, a lot of them wore T-shirts to work or school. A lot of them didn't finish college. That causes climate change. Well, these climate freaks are going after private car dealerships. They're going after everything it means to be a free person, and they're turning it over to the administrative state.
Would this include shutting down the iPhone factories in China? Would China and India participate in this climate lockdown, or is it kind of you first, America?
Oh, well, surely they're going to go after your phones. They're going to go after the ring at your front door. They'll be going after the makers of your child's teddy bear. Oh, believe me, Tucker, they're going to kill your goldfish. Damn, it's cold.
I feel such deep shame that Americans complied with what we've just been through.
Change.
And I hope that
global warming.
I really do. Mark, thanks so much.
Look at the snow. This is Eric McCoy, and we are here to walk a mile in some slippers. And I'm with Lona Curry.
That's right. I am Lona Curry. I am your transgender mentor, and I'm grateful to be here once again, sitting with my good friend, Eric McCoy.
All right. So, Lona, we are going to talk today about this notion of climate change, right? Crazy topic, as some believe in it, others don't. Well, some believe in it and then say, well, there's nothing that we can do about it. What do you think, Lona?
Oh man, I think the Earth is evolving and changing. So this is going to be quite a interesting show and topic because I don't think I have the popular opinion. I walk somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Well, look, and I'll say, so, with me, it's one of those things that if we are doing a lot of harm, okay, we may be experiencing some of the consequences right now, but we're not going to experience in our lifetime what they say could possibly be.
Right.
So the question is, do we give a fuck about the kids, right?
Right. 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 Well, I think it depends on what kids.
Right, yeah.
Because I think the transgender kids are the ones that are causing all this global warming. I mean, if you ask some people, it's all the trans kids.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the non-binary kids, they're just coming through and fucking it up. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's all
They,
about the kids.
they, you mean they or them?
They, they, and them. They and them. In fact,
Yeah. Okay, so the debate over climate change centers on a series of questions, right? Is global warming real? Is it caused mainly by human activity? How harmful is it likely to be? What can we do about it? And the funny part about this, and honestly about everything that we talk about, is there's obviously nothing that you and I can actually specifically do except talk
right,
about it in a non-emotional way as much as possible, right?
right, right. I hope everybody picks up the sarcasm.
Yeah. Now the debate says that rising global temperatures, we got warming oceans and shrinking ice sheets all indicate that the earth is warming, and that many agree is in response to increased greenhouse gas levels, which are mostly due to human-made emissions. Argument, right? The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit since the 19th century due to increases in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Mm.
What we know, I think, as far as the information I could get. Now, I remember in college, and I was taking this class where we studied, like the circulation of the atmosphere. And we talked about the greenhouse effect, et
Mm,
cetera, et cetera.
mm,
And I remember him saying that the debate was still out on how much we caused it.
mhm,
But he said
mhm.
if we did, we're fucked. That's exactly what he said. So, scientifically, right?
Yeah,
Environmental
scientific,
groups.
truly.
So environmental groups believe humans have a moral obligation to stop climate change before future generations pay the price. So again, do
Mm,
we give a fuck? They
right.
support policies that help reverse the long-term effects of climate change. I'll tell you one thing that irritates me, obviously, today is the price of gas.
Right.
And,
Right.
part of the debate would be if you just open up this whole thing in Alaska and just open up this whole, well, we got tons of oil out here. Open that shit up, gas prices would go down.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you.
Now, then you have the skeptics that argue that the dangers of climate change are exaggerated, right? While others accept global warming is real, but dismiss evidence that suggests it's connected to human activity.
I would likely lean towards that route. That yeah, it's likely real, but I think I mean, how many changes has the Earth been through since we've been here? Do we really fucking think that we have that much control over a planet?
I don't think we can destroy the planet,
No.
but can we do something that the planet could destroy us?
Can we help like without without playing this zero sum game where somebody's got to be the villain and somebody else has got to be the victor? And can we ever do anything without just having to stand on somebody else's neck? That's my
Yeah,
whole thing with all of humanity
yeah.
you know
Yeah, so that perspective leaves climate change skeptics to reject calls for regulatory limits on emissions, arguing that the economic cost outweighs the environmental impact. So global climate change heavily impacts economics, politics, and foreign affairs,
Mm,
government regulation, suppression of scientific data for political gain, and
yeah.
international agreements on climate change often play a role in the debate. Now, I want to get this kicked off by showing you a Republican from Texas. Now, you may think I'm talking about Ted Cruz, but this is actually a new senator.
Oh.
I want you to listen to his message.
Thank you very much. I want to thank all my Texans out there. to vote me into Congress. We're going to make some stuff happen. All right, go ahead, Mr. Fred Lion-Eyes Clapper. Something been proud.
My name is Fred Flap.
Yeah, that's what I said, Fred.
Well, there was recently a report from one of the world's top experts of climate change, which said that global warming has proven to be false. They said that
Blah, 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 blah. Look, science is wrong. Science, the theory said it can't be fully proven. I mean, the Earth is cool. Heated, cool, heated. See, check this out, look, see, I got this right outside. Cubes of ice. How can this be frozen if we're heated up?
well, Senator, those are, never mind. I was saying that science has proven that man has not caused global warming.
Oh, yeah. I firmly believe in science. How can you dispute science? That's what I've been saying all along. Yeah, go ahead, Dick Begone.
That's Richard Begone.
That's what I said, Dick.
I'm not sure what Lion Eyes Flapper was saying.
Dude, that's rude. Come on, man. His name is Fred. Truth be told, Flap. Come on. Give it to me, Dick. You go.
As I was saying, I'm not sure what document he was referring to, but I have proof right here, and I'll gladly show you that science has proven without a doubt that we have caused this greenhouse effect.
As I was saying, yeah, I don't trust science. Science is wrong. It's always been wrong. I want to show you proof that James E. Hole has shown Congress. This made me jump out of my chair with excitement. I couldn't have thought of more scientific experiments than James and Huffy could have done. This is brilliant.
President, I'm reminiscent with the snow on the ground of 5 years ago. The occupier of the chair, I say, Mr. President, was not here at that time, and so you don't have the advantage of knowing the story that's behind this. And the story that's behind this that's back when they first started all the hysteria on global warming. And it happened to be a snowstorm that had been unprecedented. It set a record that year. And there's a charming family of 6, I say to my friend in the chair, that built this. And their picture is here. And that happens to be my daughter and her family of 6. And at that time, it got a lot of attention. Actually, it got a lot of national attention. And in case we have forgotten, because we keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record, I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball. And that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
Just so you can see that, obviously this was back in the winter time, and not winter right now, but this was a prior event. But as you can see, there was snow on the ground. It was cold. and I got ice here, you know. See, global warming, it don't exist. Now, Jeff, I like science, and Dick, science is wrong. So, we gotta get rid of this global warming crap and start pumping some shit. We need to get some clean coal and start opening up the pipelines and just start pumping oil. It's all crap, like I said. Thank everybody. Let the people. Hail Trump.
It's all crap. That's what they say.
So you gotta love though the argument though, like it's not real. Here's the science, right? Snowball outside. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, It's not really a great argument. You know what I mean? They're not.
No.
It's not like they're saying like global warming, is happening, and now it's always 1,000 degrees outside.
That's like somebody saying smoking's going to give you lung cancer, and so you light up again and be like, "Well, I don't have it, so it
Exactly.
ain't coming."
Yeah, yeah.
So I just
Doesn't
keep
exist.
going.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. It's just crap.
All right. So multiple studies published in peer-reviewed scientific journals showed that 97% or more of actively publishing climate scientists agree with climate warming trends over the past century that are extremely, according to what they say, likely due to human activities. That's a pretty large percentage.
That's
97.
very large. Yeah, that's very large.
Yeah. Now, Republicans fall into two of the categories that I mentioned earlier, right? They either don't believe it exists at all, or they don't believe that we can really do anything about it.
Like most things.
Yeah. So I wanted to take you to an environmentalist real quick who knows how we can handle it. Very respected environmentalist, a lot of good information. You may have seen this guy before.
I'm an environmentalist. A lot of people don't understand that.
What do you think the world should be doing about climate change, and do you still harbor that skepticism?
I feel that the United States has tremendous wealth. The wealth is under its feet. I've made that wealth come alive. We will soon be exporting. In fact, we're actually doing it now, exporting. But we are now the number one energy producer in the world, and soon it will be by far, with a couple of pipelines that have not been able to get approved for many, many years. It'll have a huge impact. I was able to get ANWR in Alaska, could be the largest site in the world for oil and gas. I was able to get ANWR approved. Ronald Reagan wasn't able to do it. Nobody was able to do it. They've been trying to do it since before Ronald Reagan. I got it approved.
So I want to thank you very much, Mr. President, for answering that question. So you are going to solve the problem by being wealthy. Thank you so much.
And again, really remind me, what do you do?
I'm an environmentalist. A lot of people don't understand that. I'm an environmentalist. A lot of people don't understand that. And I think I know more about the environment than most people. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want place that we will be very careful. At the same time, we can take care of people. At the same time, clean air, clean water. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's the way he sounds sometimes, huh? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much. That's about all I got from him.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to solve it by being wealthy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Where do we sign up to help?
That's how you do it. What we were supposed to, now when he was president, he told us that we would get everything we ever wanted.
Damn.
You get everything you wanted?
I must have slept through that.
Oh, you know what? It's because you're a transgender.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm exempt.
Yeah.
I'm exempt.
Damn it.
Right. I know.
Well,
Me and the kids.
Yeah.
Me and the kids.
Well, the rest of us, we got everything we wanted.
Damn, if we could just only not be transgender.
You know?
Oh, I tried that.
Yes. Trump
Yes.
is the master of transgenderism. He knows everything.
Well, people don't understand that he is a transgender man. People don't understand that. They didn't know that.
Yeah, he knows everything about everything.
He does. He is a wealth of information and experience.
Yep. And if any question you ever have, just think about wealth.
That's it. Wealth is the answer to everything. Pretty sure that's why we're in this position.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get a little serious here. All right.
Uh-oh.
So the issue, which many refer to climate change rather than global warming, and it is specifically for the reason that the senator said, the snowball, right? It still gets very cold. And sometimes, we're seeing cold fronts as the coldest on record. We hear that too, the coldest on record. But this issue is also extremely political, as everything, right? Now, during debates for president, that question is always asked.
Donald thinks that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. I think it's real.
I did not.
Science is real.
I do not say that.
And I think it's important that we...
Now, yes, I could not find him saying it, but on November 6, 2012, he typed, "The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive." So Clinton said Donald Trump says climate change is a hoax invented by the Chinese. Trump did tweet that view in 2012, though he made efforts that year to describe that remark as a joke. However, Trump has repeatedly called climate change a hoax in speeches, tweets, and media appearances. Now, he hasn't necessarily repeated the charge that China invented climate change. He did say on January 18th, 2016, that action on climate change is done for the benefit of China. So, yeah, I think he said that. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Grip this and deal with it, both at home and abroad. And here's what we can do. We can deploy 500 million more solar panels. We can have enough clean energy to power every home. We can build a new modern electric grid. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of new economic activity. So I've tried to be very specific about what we can and should do, and I am determined that we're going to get the economy really moving again, building on the progress we've made over the last 8 years, but never going back to what got us in trouble in the first place.
Mr. Trump.
She talks about solar panels. We invested in a solar company, our country. That was a disaster. They lost plenty of money on that one. Now, look, I'm a great believer in all forms of energy, but we're putting a lot of people out of work. Our energy policies are a disaster.
In everything he says, he must tell what he's done.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Everything he says. Oh, God.
Everything always comes back about him, too.
Always.
Everything.
Always. Yeah. Always. And the ones, and the Trumpers just, they don't see it.
I don't understand. It's like he does not care about anybody else.
Oh my God, no.
He's never shown anything like that.
No. No, and we have to say, I don't know what the the flashback is going to be from saying this, but we can say with clear integrity that the Clintons have shown that they have been able to get this economy moving. Now, we've been there with the Clintons. The Clintons got the economy moving in the 90s. And buddy, I remember that. I was a young person in the 90s, could quit a job that day, get 3 more on the way home, and life was good. But every fucking thing, man, that our environmentalist Trump says just goes back to something he's done. And narcissism gives me a stomach ache. You ever notice that cult leaders and people that are able to manipulate large groups of human beings into spaces that from the outside looking in, people are like, how the fuck don't you see that you are in a cult? Like, how do you not see, like, this is the only man that can sleep with all the women? Like how don't you see that this is how extremism is born? And yet, I miss his antics and his presence.
Yes.
But how do you breed that much extremism unless you are dealing with other narcissists? I don't know. It's wild to me, bro. Like,
So as we had kind of shown there, I have to agree that Trump, at least from what we can prove, never said that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm with you.
Couldn't find him ever saying that specifically, right? So I do understand Trump's frustration of being accused of things he's never said. Right? I have been accused, right, of saying Trump hates America, right? People get confused. People get that confused, right? Before I've never said that,
Right.
I'm just reading the tweet that was put out,
I'm just tweeting. You didn't say tweeted. You said.
Okay, so what is the theory on climate change? And yes, we can call it a theory because, again, science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiments. So science doesn't equate with facts, right?
Right.
But this doesn't mean that observation and study of something doesn't mean that it isn't a fact.
Very true.
So again, I could type Trump hates America, which is an opinion, but it could be a fact also. And I didn't say it. Okay, it was typed, right?
Oh, that's right. Typed.
So scientists who study
Don't get it
climate
twisted.
change are looking at this so-called greenhouse effect.
The greenhouse effect is a process that occurs when energy from the sun goes through its atmosphere and warms the planet's surface, but the atmosphere prevents the heat from returning back to space, resulting in a warmer planet. Light arriving from our sun passes through Earth's atmosphere and warms its surface. The warmed surface then radiates heat, which is absorbed by greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide. Without the natural greenhouse effect, Earth's average temperature would be well below freezing. If humans have caused increases in greenhouse gases, this traps greater amounts of heat, which will cause the Earth to grow warmer over time.
Yep.
How much impact are we actually having? And so the term greenhouse effect is actually, from what scientists say, is actually a flawed analogy, comparing this to transparent glass, allowing sunlight into greenhouses. But greenhouses mainly retain heat by restricting air movement, unlike what we're actually talking about here.
Right, right.
The strengthening of the greenhouse effect through human activities is known as the enhanced greenhouse effect. Do you ever study this stuff in science?
You know, I do remember studying a bit of this, but I was not always an avid student.
Not always paying attention, right?
I was not always paying attention or there. So, but I do remember something about this.
So CO2, right, is produced by fossil fuel burning and other activities such as cement production and tropical deforestation.
That's really big. I mean, I live or operate on a business in a place that I see, even as a protected land, that so much of it is being developed, that sometimes I do wonder,
Yeah, so measurements of CO2, and this is from the Mauna Loa Observatory, show that concentrations have increased from about 313 parts per million in 1960, passing the 400 parts per million milestone in 2013. So in theory, the more carbon in the atmosphere keeps more heat from leaving and heating the planet. Obviously, a very simple explanation, but probably a lot more than most elected officials know.
Right.
Now, I'm not a scientist, okay? And as we have had more fun with finding flaws in arguments, we're going to continue. Now,
it ain't over.
Yeah. And I want to take you back to the snowball guy for a second.
Despite a long list of
Come on, you can do it. Just get it out.
substantiated global warming claims, climate activists and environmental groups will cling to any extreme weather-related headline to support their case for global warming and to instill the fear of global warming in the American people. So they ask the question, why is it? There's a scientist by the name of Richard Lindzen. Richard Lindzen is with MIT. Some have argued he's the most knowledgeable of all the climate scientists. And he answered that question. He said, regulating carbon is like regulating life. If you regulate carbon, it's a bureaucrat's dream because regulating carbon regulates life. And so it's a power struggle, and I think that's probably the best answer. I'm not a scientist, and I don't claim to be, but I quote scientists, and they have the answers to these questions.
Fantastic argument. I have no idea what he fucking said. I don't understand what he said at all. Like, did that make any sense? Like, really? Yeah.
So I had to look this up. So carbon is the chemical backbone of all life on Earth. All the carbon that we currently have on Earth is the same amount that we've always had because we're a closed system. So when new life is formed, carbon forms key molecules like protein and DNA. It's also found in the atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide or CO2. The carbon cycle is nature's way of reusing carbon atoms, which travel from the atmosphere into organisms in the earth and then back into the atmosphere over and over again. Most carbon is stored in rocks and sediments, while the rest is stored in the ocean, atmosphere, and living organisms. These are the reservoirs or sinks through which carbon cycles. The ocean is a giant carbon sink that absorbs carbon. Marine organisms, from marsh plants to fish, from seaweed to birds, also produce carbon through living and dying. Over millions of years, dead organisms can become fossil fuels. When humans burn these fuels for energy, huge amounts of carbon dioxide are released back into the atmosphere. This excess carbon dioxide changes our climate, increasing global temperatures, causing ocean acidification, and disrupting the planet's ecosystems. So basically, the carbon cycle is vital to life on Earth. Nature tends to keep carbon levels balanced, meaning that the amount of carbon naturally released from reservoirs is equal to the amount that is naturally absorbed by reservoirs. Maintaining this carbon balance allows the planet to remain hospitable for life. Now, scientists believe that humans have upset this balance by burning fossil fuels, which has added more carbon to the atmosphere than usual and led to climate change and global warming.
Now, he mentioned Dr. Richard Lindzen, which I had to explore a little, obviously, because, when I hear a name, I have to look him up. And so he is, according to that senator, the top guy, right? And the guy that he listens to.
Yeah.
So why does he listen to him?
Good question.
Just to verify that this guy speaks the truth. Here is Dr. Richard Lindzen.
And joining us now on the debate for the full edition in Paris, France, Richard Lindzen, professor of meteorology at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Sometimes you say the temperatures go up, sometimes down, occasionally, such as for the last dozen years or so, it does little that can be discerned. Now, there is a vast gap in our understanding between warmest decade on record and little can be discerned. Help us understand that discrepancy, if you would, from your point of view.
Sure. It's not a big problem. You did have, at least according to the records of surface data used by NASA, the Climate Research Unit in England, and NOAA, an increase in temperature from the late 70s through the 90s, and that brought one to a high point in the record. Remember, we're talking about tenths of a degree here. We're not talking about anything very large. It's a magnitude that, almost all of us experience, I would say 30 times as much each day. And so you reached a high point in the record in the 90s, and it's done nothing since then, at least not statistically significant, because each of these points has a fairly large error bar. And so it's been flat since then. And that's completely consistent with the statement that the last decade is the warmest in the record. It just, there's been no trend in it. Now, you could argue maybe trends should be done over longer periods, but then it should be longer than 30 years also. So, we're turning normal variations into the ancient notion of an omen. We're scanning this small residue for small changes and speaking of them as though they were ominous signs of something or other.
And cut. Runaway greenhouse effect occurs if positive feedbacks lead to the evaporation of all greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. I had a question. Runaway greenhouse effect, as I've been studying, involves carbon dioxide and water vapor. And it has long been hypothesized to have occurred on Venus. And this is, from my understanding, very largely accepted argument. The planet Venus experienced a runaway greenhouse effect that resulted in an atmosphere which is 96% carbon dioxide and a surface atmospheric pressure roughly the same as found underwater on Earth. Venus may have had water oceans, but they would have boiled off as the mean surface temperature rose to the current 860 degrees Fahrenheit. The more I study this, the more worried I got is, the greenhouse effect on Venus is particularly large for a lot of different reasons, and one being the very dense atmosphere that consists mainly of carbon dioxide. Venus experienced that runaway greenhouse in the past, and do we expect this to happen on Earth?
Sure. It's not a big problem.
Holy shit. Now we're going to hear a word from our sponsor.
All of us scientists are government employees, even if we're working for private universities. All research is supported by the government. So, as such, we're very sensitive to what politicians say and believe. Well, that's a shortcoming.
Hell yeah.
Now, I think the most important part of that about the whole video was the very end of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you like that fear move, though? Right?
I love it. I love it.
Now, all scientists, according to this guy, are swayed by politicians. So think about this, right? People don't trust scientists, but trust politicians,
right?
Which apparently is going to be the same information as the scientists.
Right.
Am I getting this?
You are getting it loud and clear.
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Now, I want to evaluate the Democratic argument. I want to ask you which argument seems better. Okay.
Okay.
The snowball guy or this guy?
While we have a quiet moment, I just wanted to complete my remarks related to the senator from Oklahoma and his snowball. I'd like to ask unanimous consent that I show the Earth Now website on the iPad device that I have.
Without objection.
And if you go to Earth Now, it's actually quite easy to load. And you can see how that polar vortex measurably brings the cold air down to New England, where we are right now. And if you don't want, and this is produced by NASA, right? These are pretty serious people. So you can believe NASA, and you can believe what their satellites measure on the planet, or you can believe the senator with the snowball.
You can have this, or you can have that. You can have this.
Snowball guy or research NASA.
Or NASA.
Just from a common sense.
NASA who works for the government.
Now, Trump called for $25 billion NASA budget for 2021 to boost moon and Mars goals.
Right. Right. He's invested in going to Mars.
Trump knows we fucked this planet up, right? And so instead of acknowledging that, we need to get to Mars,
Yeah.
And we need to move there. Do you think Trump cares about the environment as he says he does?
No.
No.
What? I don't think he cares about anything other than his wealth. That's that.
Well, yeah, he always does mention money.
The answer to everything is
stock market.
Hey, yeah, just let me get richer. long as I get richer, hey, it's all good because I'm gonna take care of everything.
Workers' pay was most important
Yes.
common words he always said.
Did he say it or type it? Now we've got to be clear.
That's true. I don't know. I think he did as he was putting on the worker's helmet, remember?
That's right.
Yeah.
He did say that.
Yeah, and he got into the truck to drive the
Yeah,
truck.
that's right. Which he probably took home.
Yeah. Well, that shows you though that he's willing to step into the shoes of the workers too.
Yeah, he walks a mile.
So does caring about the environment go hand in hand with economy, stock market, workers' pay? Right? The Republican Party's lack of concern for the possibility of climate change and money appear to be the same thing. So you have to wonder why Trump wanted to make so many cuts to the EPA and also to pull out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Any ideas?
I could think one pretty big one is going to be it's going to cut into his wealth in some way, shape, or form.
So we have to make these cuts, and then you don't have to really do shit if you didn't want to, right? If you're in the Paris Climate Agreement, would basically say, okay, we'll make these cuts. You literally don't have to do shit. What are they going to do if you don't? They're going to spank you?
Yep. Yep.
It's pretty dumb. Okay. There's no contract that you sign with that Paris Climate Agreement. You could say that you want to help, other countries, and you say, no, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Remember, Trump likes stupid people.
Yes, he does.
What he is really saying is,
Yep.
as president and the supreme ruler and the chosen one, remember,
Yep.
I don't want
Yep.
to even hear anything about it. Now,
That's
how
right.
do we know he doesn't care? Well, actually, he does care, and only about money, as we said.
Right.
Now, I'm going to show you proof of this. So, when Trump became president, and remember, he wants the cleanest air and the cleanest water.
Yes.
See if we can make sense of this.
Okay.
In New York City, we have a lot of asbestos buildings, and there's a whole debate about asbestos. I mean, a lot of people could say that if the World Trade Center had asbestos, it wouldn't have burned down, it wouldn't have melted, okay? A lot of people think asbestos, a lot of people in my industry think asbestos is the greatest fireproofing material ever made. And I can tell you that I've seen tests of asbestos versus the new material that's being used, and it's not even it's like a heavyweight champion against a lightweight from high school.
What do we know about asbestos?
Well, we know that it causes cancer.
So over 4 years, right, the Trump administration dismantled major climate policies and rolled back many more rules governing clean air, water, wildlife, toxic chemicals. The research from Harvard Law School, Columbia Law School, and other various sources counts nearly 100 environmental rules that were officially reversed, revoked, or otherwise rolled back under the chosen one. More than a dozen other potential rollbacks remained in progress by the end, but were not finalized by the end of his administration's term. Now, we're not going to go through all of them, but to get an idea, and I'm bringing this up because it is Trump's party, or at least that's what Donald Trump Jr. said, remember? A spokeswoman for the EPA said in a statement to the Times, adding that it was delivering on President Trump's commitment to return the agency to its core mission, providing cleaner air, water, and land to the American people. They revoked California's authority to set auto emission rules that are stricter than federal standards. Okay, now look. Okay, personally, our rules in California are bullshit. Okay. They've set this thing up where we have to have electric cars by like the year 1935 or something like that. They won't sell anymore in California. So let me show you something really quick here. This is what LA looked like when I was a kid. All right, let me show you.
Yeah, I noticed. So we have to have yearly inspections on our cars in order to get our tags renewed. So we have to go take it and have this inspection. and there's this California smog like clause in there that you have to have this smog thing on the engine or whatever. And I noticed that last year or a couple of years ago, we stopped having to have that. Like no longer did we have to have the smog test. Like there was no
Oh yeah, because North Carolina goes the complete opposite direction. They're like going, oh,
oh,
you want to help protect the climate? Well, fuck you. We're taking
well,
away
fuck
all our
you.
shit. We're gonna burn
Yeah.
everything. Let's burn everything to the fucking ground.
We spend all our fucking money making sure our cars are fucking loud and obnoxious
Yeah.
and are blowing fucking smoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this picture is what I remember Los Angeles looking like back in the 70s
Wow.
and into the 80s
Wow.
when I was young.
And so California then, of course, put some very strict regulations in place and cleaned up our air. So the one
Wow.
lower one is a little closer to what it looks like, a little more like today. But
Wow.
yeah, this was growing up, man. We had this haze.
That's pretty amazing right there.
Yeah, everything's so expensive out here. And
Yeah.
part of the reason that, again, like our gas is so expensive is because of part of that too, because, we have like extra shit that's been added to our gas here to make it cleaner. We're about $5 or something a gallon right now. Where are you guys at?
Really? We are about 319, but that's also our gas prices, even though price gouging is illegal. And during tourist season, that's what happens come May
Oh, yeah.
through September, everything goes up. So the price of groceries and the gas and
Well, no. So
everything
part of it
goes
though
up.
would be demand too, though, right? So do you have more people
Sure.
buying gas?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We have more people here buying everything.
Yeah, same here. I mean, summertime
Mhm.
hits and we get our gas goes up and but of course we get everybody and their mother that comes out from all over the freaking world.
Right.
But I'm cool with lifting everything. Seriously, let's just cut it off. Fuck it. Let's live like the fucking North Carolinians.
That's right.
Let's just fucking just burn shit to the ground.
That's right. Jack those fucking trucks up and
Yeah.
throw those
Let's
big
burn our
exhaust
trash.
pipes. Let her rip, Tater Chip. Let's do it.
They revoked a rule that prevented coal companies from dumping mining debris into local streams.
Oh.
They rolled back most of the requirements of a 2017 rule aimed at improving safety at sites that use hazardous chemicals that was instituted after a chemical plant exploded in Texas. Yeah, one found interesting is the EPA chief Andrew Wheeler under Trump pushed to keep asbestos legal. This shit's funny, right? And so I find it interesting, but again, no concern for people, right?
Right.
Just his
Right.
pocket, how much he loves
Yep.
asbestos.
Just money.
Trump said, I believe that the movement against asbestos was led by the mob. Right? He wrote that in his 1997 The Art of the Comeback, because it was often mob-related companies that would do the asbestos removal, apparently.
Right. Right.
Great pressure was put on politicians, and as usual, the politicians relented.
Yep.
The United States no longer mines asbestos, but countries that do export them were very excited by the idea of having an asbestos-loving guy in the White House.
I bet.
Who wants to give his supporters cancer.
Exactly.
And you'll never guess who the biggest exporter of asbestos just happens to be.
Don't tell me it's China. Russia.
Kind of weird, Donald Trump's face.
Is that not crazy? That's wild, man.
I don't know if he's actually the biggest, but this was actually a photo that was on social media of palace of asbestos. Yeah, and of course, it is stamped with Trump's face, right? And according to a translation, right, what it says is Donald is on our side. Now I'm going to jump back to our favorite president here for a minute.
Okay.
I don't want to give trillions and trillions of dollars. I don't want to lose millions and millions of jobs. I don't want to be put at a disadvantage.
I wish you could go to Greenland. Watch these huge chunks of ice just falling into the ocean, raising the sea levels.
And you don't know whether or not that would have happened with or without man. You don't know.
Well, you're scientists at
No,
NOAA
we have
and NASA.
scientists that disagree with that.
You know, I was thinking, what if he said, no, I've seen the hurricane situations, I've changed my mind. There really is climate change. And I thought, wow, what an impact. What an impact that would make.
I'm not denying climate change, but it could very well go back. You know, we're talking about over millions of years. They say that we had hurricanes that were far worse than what we just had with Michael.
Who says that? They say. You mean
Well,
the people on the phone?
people say that in the
Yeah, but what about the scientists who say it's worse than ever?
You'd have to show me the scientists because they have a very big political agenda.
I was like, they say.
They say.
Who's
They.
they? Well, they. You know they.
You know them.
Them,
They're
you know what I
them.
mean? It's they're. He listens to the non-binary people.
That's right. Fucking non-binaries coming in and making some.
I wonder if he realized that he's actually
supporting.
That's exactly what he's supporting.
That's all he's supporting.
Them.
Theys and thems.
I never thought about it. Damn.
The rest of us.
What the hell?
The non-binaries. They love him.
Let's go ahead and get we're going to have a few questions and answers from a few scientists now. Okay.
Oh, good.
So one thing a lot of people say is our weather is getting worse. Now, Bill Haxert, who's an oceanographer and climatologist. So he retired after almost 35 years at the forefront of studying the ocean from space and communicating Earth science to the American public.
Extreme weather was more frequent in recent years. Is it a sign that global warming is gaining pace and exceeding predictions?
Now, has extreme weather been more frequent in recent years? The evidence is definitely to the contrary. The United States has always had extreme weather. We look back on our weather history, it's been punishing. Floods, droughts, tornadoes, hurricanes, great forest fires. Is global warming happening? No doubt about it. We're living in a warmer world. We're living in a melting world. Sea levels are rising. Now, direct evidence of the footprint or the fingerprint of global warming, we're seeing more frequent, more intense, and longer-lasting heat waves. As far as hurricanes, tornadoes, forest fires, floods, and drought, the evidence is definitely not in. The consensus among almost all scientists is that it's a small fingerprint, not a large footprint. But what is true is that in this country, in the United States, we live in many areas with great risk to drought, to tornadoes, to hurricanes. And so part of the dialogue is not only extreme weather and global warming, but is the amount of risk we can tolerate. Now, looking to the future, global change, global warming, it definitely is accelerating, and it will have an impact on extreme weather. But at this point, not much.
Thank you, Bill. All right. So now next is Dr. Peter Hildebrand. He's an atmospheric scientist, was the director of the Earth Sciences Division at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center.
Is there any merit to the studies that show that historical CO2 levels lag behind temperature changes, not lead them?
Well, yes, there's merit to that. In fact, in the pre-industrial age, the CO2 response to temperature was that the temperature would go up and CO2 would go up. Or if the temperature went down, CO2 would go down. And the reason for that is when the temperature went up, the whole biosphere revved up and emitted CO2, and we had more CO2 in the atmosphere. So we understand that process. The problem for the science community is in the post-industrial age, the CO2 rise is preceding the temperature rise. So two different things happened. One, pre-industrial, where temperature was driving the CO2. post-industrial, where the CO2 is driving temperature, which means a completely different physical, biological process is going on. And we don't understand what the consequence of that change is. It is a fundamental change to how the Earth works and how the Earth's radiation balance works. And so, since we don't understand it, we're very concerned because we don't see any restraining force on continued increase in temperature due to continued increase in CO2. And that's a problem.
Okay.
Thanks, Pete.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
All right. Now, Joshua Willis is an oceanographer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. His area of expertise is current sea level rise, as well as measuring ocean temperatures.
Does the scientific community feel that global warming is decreasing or increasing?
Yeah, you know, like a lot of people ask me, like, has there been a pause in global warming because, like, temperatures aren't increasing as fast as they were a decade ago? And I always say, you know, pause are for kittens and puppies because global warming is definitely still increasing. We're still getting more heat trapped into the oceans. The oceans are sucking it up. And sea level's still rising. Look at the sea level record for the last decade. It's going up like gangbusters, hasn't slowed down. So is there a pause in global warming? No, there's not really a pause in global warming. Sometimes there's natural fluctuations and we warm up a little faster in one decade and a little slower in another decade. But global warming, human-caused climate change, that's definitely going right on up in there. We haven't slowed down at all.
What do you think so far? What do you think on the with our experts?
I'm not sure we've had a straight answer.
We haven't. Kind of the way they were describing, there's certainties of what they know, but what the actual consequences are is uncertain.
I guess kind of putting a finger on what I haven't heard is what's the biggest cause? Like if we're saying that, you know, that humans are causing this, then what exactly is it that we're doing, you know, other than just living and surviving with what we're given?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, you know, I mean, you got to think about it like this. You know, when, you know, you're talking about like CO2 or, you know, I think like forest fires put an enormous amount out there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, forest fires have been around since the beginning of fucking time, right?
Without a doubt.
Even before humans, you'd have lightning that would strike and freaking burn. And of course, there was nobody there to put them out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, obviously, then you could look at the fact of like atomic bombs, right? We did that.
Yeah, we did. We did do that.
Like they were talking about like the Industrial Revolution, you know, during that time, you know, or just factories and, you know, what are we spitting out in the atmosphere?
Yeah.
You know? I want to talk briefly about doubts with certain people. You know, again, I hope that people make arguments based on research, you know, not because the snowball guy said, you know. Now, I found an article in the Science Daily that I found interesting, right? Pre-human time. So in a study that examined the environmental and ecological factors that would have impacted fire activity and conclude that these factors played the largest role in promoting fires. So Professor Andrew Scott, one of the lead authors, said high oxygen levels in the atmosphere at this time has been proposed for some time and may be why there were giant insects and arthropods at this time. Right? But our research indicates that there was a significant impact on the prevalence and scale of wildfires across the globe, and this would have affected not only the ecology of the plants and animals, but also their evolution. So Professor Scott and his colleagues and students at Royal Holloway have pioneered the study of fire in Earth's deep past. And Professor Scott basically added that we've been able to show that wildfire was an important element in Earth's system many hundreds of millions of years before the arrival of humans. Why do I say this? The greenhouse effect is a requirement for life on this planet. We would freeze if there wasn't. So around 1.76 billion tons of carbon were emitted globally in 2021. So how much carbon dioxide was released in pre-human time before people could put them out? How far did they burn? So if it was an oxygen-rich environment, shit would burn up quicker.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not a scientist, obviously, as I said, who's ever studied things myself regarding climate change or global warming. I could even say that during my lifetime and looking at trends, it is getting warmer, but I can't then say what the trend of temperature was during the last warming period before this. You know, I wasn't there and have never personally done studies. I think Trump might have been there.
I think Trump was there.
Probably.
I'm going to be.
I think he's always been around.
Yeah. Like they say he's God. So, or Satan. I mean, one of the two. Both of them been around. He's been around.
Yep. Now, hysteria obviously runs things.
Yeah.
But I have something very important, and this is from Tucker Carlson.
So we're learning more now about the sad toll of the corona lockdowns in this country. According to Joe Biden, though, we could get another round of lockdowns. These for a crisis that's every bit as bad as the coronavirus, maybe worse. That crisis, of course, says Joe Biden, is climate change.
Today, I'm pleased to announce a team that will lead my administration's ambitious plan to address the existential threat of our time, climate change. Folks, we're in a crisis. Just like we need to be a unified nation in response to COVID-19, we need a unified national response to climate change. And from this crisis, from these crises, I should say, we need to seize the opportunity to build back and build back better than we were before.
A unified national response. It's involuntary. That's the one thing we know. What does it mean?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
A unified national response? What does it mean? It's voluntary? They're calling for the same lockdown we saw with COVID. Did you hear what he said? You won't be able to leave your house unless you get a permit. Go to the store unless you have a license. Get on an airplane unless you have wings. Even go to the bathroom unless you have a feces card. This will be a lockdown that is worse than we saw before. Your rights will be gone. Your car will be taken, leaving us all to walk. Sure, you'll get fit and healthy, but you will surely be late to work. No more chocolate cream pie, no more movies, no more gay sex, and no more time away from your wife to meet and bang your hooker. We are all doomed.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
The feces car. That's what's up.
We'll be able to have gay sex?
Gay sex? You can't take away gay sex. Fuck.
Yeah, Jesus. The hell are we going to do?
I don't know. We're fucked. Maybe we're not fucked, but our next generation, they're fucked. They'll deal with it.
Exactly. And that's what it's coming down to. It's not us. I mean,
not us.
It's almost like it is okay. I will say this, though. It's almost like every year, all right, every year we have a day that's the highest on record.
Yes.
So think about that, though, right? Every year you're getting another.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that going to look like 100 years from now? Think about it.
I know, right?
You know what I mean?
I know. Holy crap. They're going to be dressed in suits.
Dude, they're going to be freaking, everybody's going to be living in the South Pole. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you.
It's going to become that's going to become the place to be, South Pole.
It is.
Or Mars, where Trump was taking us.
Right. Well, I think the elite will go to Mars, but they're not going to survive without the poor, because then who will they gauge their wealth by?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you got to bring some of the hobos. You got to bring them by default.
Well, I think it's what Trump's probably trying to do, is to get rid of sending all the anti-Trumpers out of.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess we're going.
What do you mean? I support that guy. I'm all for
right.
him. Hail Trump.
We're part of We're part of they and them. We forgot. We forgot.
You got to fake it sometimes, you know. Got to fake it.
You do.
Tell
Hey,
Trump.
every once in a while. We've all been there. We've all done it.
Well, that's our story today on did you learn anything? I don't know.
I don't know if I'm coming out with a better decision.
I don't know if we really gained anything from this whole experience. I mean, we got to see the snowball dude. That guy was pretty cool, you know.
That guy's
The guy
pretty
from
fucking
Texas.
cool. That Texas guy was the shit.
Tucker's replacement.
Oh yeah, that now listen. We've seen a lot.
We got to check. So maybe that guy's on Fox. Who knows? He may have taken over. Maybe that's what's happening.
Maybe that's what's happening.
Jesus, man.
That's what we've learned today. We have learned without a shadow of a doubt that Trump supports the non-binary community.
100%.
Ever talking about the non-binary community.
Days. All the time.
All day. All day.
Dude, he worships
they. He loves the days.
Yeah.
He loves days.
So he's non-binary.
He's got to be.
Yeah.
He's got to be.
Talking about his people.
Right. Because everybody finds it so hard to use they, them pronouns.
Yeah.
Trump does it so naturally.
All the time.
That he's got to be secretly non-binary.
Yeah. Melania is probably non-binary too.
That or transgender.
They switch roles sometimes.
That's right. One day she's the them, he's the they. The next time. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. He's the guy, she's the woman, and he'll be the woman.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
That's so cute, you know. It's just
adorable.
Isn't
it cute? It is cute. That's how to make a relationship last right there. True love. True love.
So as far as now climate change, yeah, we really don't know. There's, you know, I mean, we do know though that it is getting warmer. But now I will say though that just like that one guy, and I do remember there have been days where it's like they reported that there was the coldest day on record.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Now, what is the record though? Because that's the thing though, we don't know. Now, as far as our record goes, like what we, you know, how far back have we been tracking it?
Right.
You know? Right. And how did they really have the temperature
200 years ago?
Yeah. There you go. Coming out of the
south.
Feels
like 86 degrees. No.
Yeah.
87.
102. There we go. Write it down. Somebody write it down. They're going to want to know this later. Listen, we know the Earth is going through some shifting. I can agree. We've probably had a little, you know, that we've had some effect upon that. I mean,
I'm thinking
there's more people.
I'm thinking.
I mean, there's no way around it. There's just no way around.
Pumped so much shit in the atmosphere. I mean, if you think,
without a doubt,
the reality is that, you know, Republicans don't want to accept it because they make a boatload of money.
You better believe
on smog.
Absolutely.
You know,
asbestos
they make a shitload of money on smog. You know,
they do. They do.
Democrats. What the hell do Democrats make money on?
I'm starting to believe fear and suffering.
What the hell? I think we've got a dilemma. I think we ran into a dilemma right here.
I think we did. The
Republicans
need to figure that out.
Republicans, boatload of money on smog. But what can you make on fighting smog? Solar panels.
Solar panels.
Wind turbines that cause brain cancer. The last show we did on religion.
Oh yeah.
This one was cool. Okay, so you know, you watched it, right?
Yeah. Well, I watched some of it. I didn't get to finish all of it.
So I actually showed it at the outpatient.
Yeah.
Right. I was at right, and there's a reason for it, which I never showed any of the walk a mile in my shoes. I had a girl there who was so anti God because of all the, Steve Anderson. We did a really good job, I think, on that show.
Really?
Right?
Awesome.
Because I think we really kind of got the message out there that it's not God and it's not the Bible even, it's people. She said it actually did help me see it a little bit differently,
Good. This is where I often get into the relationship versus religion conversation.
Yeah.
It's people that want to believe in religion versus relationship with God. Well, if religion's all you believe in, then you have no consequence with God, and you're so blinded to what you believe is right.
Because humans make the rules in religion.
Exactly. Exactly. God makes the rules in relationship.
Yeah.
And that's that moment between you and this, this higher thing that is bigger than you know, regardless of what people call it, whether they call it, Tao or God or whatever it is, you're believing into there's this universal force that is at play in the world. And to me, having a relationship with that entity, like I know when I am feeling separate from that relationship. I know that within me. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you shared that with me because it always makes me feel good and accomplished whenever I hear that third party like feedback of, hey, it makes a difference. Because we have a lot of fun with this show. And ultimately, though our point is to make a difference by showing that some of this just doesn't make sense. And like even today, there's this choice offered in like what are you going to let it do? Like what are you going to let it, what can you personally do in your world that makes you feel like you're doing something different and better for the ultimate health of yourself and those to come after you? And what's the agenda for doing that?
And again, I think the whole thing really comes down to like, you got your opinion. You also want to listen to other people.
Yes.
And I think that like sometimes compromise is good, but I think people go too far with it,
Absolutely.
California, our governor and our people here like go way too ridiculously far with shit. You guys go way far the other side.
Right. Well, when does it come down to not to taking away the choice of the people? If you say there is no choice, everybody's going to do this, well, eventually that's just going to keep spreading out in more and more and more and more things.
Well, that's
and
the problem I have is that, they always keep passing new laws, they need to, where does the whole freedom part of this country?
Where does it end? Yeah. Where does it end?
Yeah. This was a lot of fun. I know this was really kind of sort of all over the place, but this one was just,
this was fun.
And again, this one for all of you guys watching this one was something that I had put together a long ass time ago, and it sort of just sat on my computer. And I just sort of came across it, and so decided to do this.
Love it.
But I do want you to know, I'm watching you, right? And I'm walking with you, watching you, walking with you. Anyways, Lona, great doing the show again with you.
Awesome, man. I'm glad we got to do it, man. It was all fun as always.
Yeah.
Always fun.
And you take care of yourself. I know you're all burnt up, so
I am.
So go to sleep. I know it's late out there, and thanks for walking with me, though.
Absolutely. It's been a blast with these burnt feet. Global warming is real in my body right now.
I'm sure you're feeling it.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
This is my highest on record right now.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the guy said, people go up and down, so. All right. Well, hey, thank you all for walking with us. And you got anything you want to say?
Well, just do all the things, Thank you for hitting that like button and hit that subscribe button. Make sure to push that notification bell so you know when we put new stuff up. And thanks for all the support. Thanks for walking with us. This is always fun.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll see you soon. Again, thank you for tuning in to Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And we will be back in a couple weeks.
That's right. 2 weeks. We'll do it.
All right.